Welcome back. This is Beyond the Box Score. I'm Dan Schneider. That's Jacob Gibbs. And I want to thank all of you during this festive holiday season, with the holidays coming up, for joining us this season on Beyond the Box Score, our intro debut season. The chat's been amazing. The community's been amazing. The reviews have been amazing as I've pined for them on Apple and Spotify. So I really appreciate all your support. This show does not happen without you guys. With that said, Jacob is recording today from an office that's all too familiar to me. Down in Fort Lauderdale, I've worked out of that side office. It's where they put us when we visit the office. No, just kidding. There's plenty of space, but we choose to go there. And that is the infamous office, for those who remember from Fantasy Football Today folklore, where Adam Azer was scared by Jamie and put together one of the most genuinely frightened faces I've ever seen on a jump scare. And for those who don't know, check it out. I think Gamer Eric has it as his main avatar. If he shows up in the comments today, he normally joins the main FFT show. But Jacob, I did hear that there was a funny story today from that Fort Lauderdale office with another one of our coworkers. So what happened today when you got there?
Yeah, so I got here bright and early trying to get everything set up. Hardly anybody in the office, and I'm here at 8 o'clock. I come out just like totally in the zone, not expecting anything. And it's 8:30 or so. And as I turn the corner around the door, I see Dave, Richard, just waiting for me. As I come out the door, basically tackled me, like just ran right at me. Just like you could just see the exuberance. Like this is the first time I've ever seen Dave in person. He came in early
that's
and
awesome.
got me.
I didn't know you hadn't met.
Yeah, grabbed me before the waiver show. So if y'all watched the waiver wire show this morning on FFT, he did the intro with Adam and everything before the show, getting ready. And then when Adam pressed the button to start, he's like, "Here, switch me seats." And I get in there, and Adam's just like, "What the heck?" Yeah, down here in Miami, celebrating with some friends, and then here working this week in Fort Lauderdale, going to meet Dave, see Heath again. I met Heath Cummings in Kansas City once, but excited to see him again, and already got lots of good food recommendations. Yeah, it's a good time to be here. But we've got of
food
course
recommendations out there.
Dave, I was like, dude, you got to hook me up.
Yeah. Dave's lived there for a while. He will give food. It is what it is. Look, there's some spots they're decent. They're Florida food. It's not going to compare with anything I've been through. And I think outside, you go to KC, don't get barbecue down there. I'll tell you that to start. Don't even try it. Don't even put that in your mind. But it is great to see the little camaraderie with FFT. I love that Dave is like the biggest grinder you'll ever know from this industry. Like when I'm down there, every single time I'm down there, he is the last person in that office. When I go home, he is still there working in his office, and he's the first one in there too. It's unbelievable. I hope you get to hang out with Dave, Jamie. I'm sorry, Dave, Heath, and also Jamie. Jamie might be in that office. Hit him up, tell him to come by. They're right around the corner, and I think Brandon might be in there as well if you want to meet him. He usually comes Mondays. But anyway, today on Beyond the Box, so we're not talking about inter-office politics or inter-office hangouts. We're talking about fantasy football. We're talking about your semifinals of your fantasy playoffs. We hope you're there. I mean, I'm there in a few. I know Jacob's there in a few. We had a little discussion. Not happy with some of the injuries to some of our best players. But today what we're going to talk about is what you can do about those injuries. And we're going to talk a lot about the backfields because I think that, Jacob, is where mostly, if you're trying to make a impact on your roster heading into the semis, it's going to be at the running back position, to be quite frank. For the most part, there's a few receivers we'll get into a waiver wire, but there's a lot of interesting backfield situations due to the injuries. I got a chance to watch a lot of these players. I know you have as well, and we're projecting a little bit with some of these injuries. So where do you want to start? Which backfield piques your interest the most?
Yeah, lots of interesting backfield stuff. And then, of course, like Devontae Adams, Christian Watson, Ricky Pierce all go down. Roma Dunze injury flare-up right before, as Dan obviously knows all too well. Sorry. And then even Mike Evans. Mike Evans is back in. And so that is obviously impactful. I don't know if you have seen this or not, gotten to the nitty-gritty of all the route data and everything. But Emeka Egbuka was third on the team in routes run for Tampa Bay this week. Chris Godwin was on the field for 95% of the routes. So it's Godwin playing in the slot primarily, but then also playing more of the two receiver sets than the rookie. So that's really interesting. Jalen McMillan made his return as well. And he only ran 5 fewer routes than Emeka Egbuka. So,
wow.
Yeah, that is definitely scary. If you've been counting on Egbuka to bounce back at the end of the year, we know that he could. He has the talent to. And so if the offense plays well, huge game this week against Carolina, he could. But the usage was not encouraging, not what you want to see in the first game back for Evans and McMillan. Tons of backfield injuries. I want to get into the Patriots to kick things off here. So I watched every play for the Patriots this morning. I'm excited after this podcast to get to the Buffalo side of the game because obviously, I mean, what a game. For the Patriots, I just feel so encouraged about Trayvon Henderson for fantasy at this point. Before this game, so this is after the bye, before this game, I was a little nervous, right? We'd seen, you saw in the Giants game that it felt like it was Ramondre as the clear lead back, Ramondre on passing downs, and probably Ramondre in short yardage situations. And so it's like, what is the role then for Henderson? Like Henderson got a lot of carries in the second half of that Giants game. They were playing with a big lead, but didn't really know what to expect. We're a little bit worried that, kind of the veteran coaching staff might limit his opportunities down the stretch here. But I watched this game, man. Ramondre gets a start. First carry goes to Ramondre Stevenson. The second carry is a designed run to Trayvon Henderson. So like right away, that piques my interest that they bring him in for the second play. And they've got something designed to him to try to attack the outside.
Mm-hmm.
Goal line carries or goal line play on that drive. Henderson's in on the RPO where Drake May scores. Hits Henderson on the field, not Ramondre. Like, okay, that is not what I expected. Because when I looked at the initial split, it was like Ramondre, I think, had like a 67% snap rate or something like that, And I was like, we had the big runs for Henderson, but it was like kind of the same thing where it's Ramondre leading the way. I actually don't think so. I think Ramondre played a ton in the second half, a lot of empty snaps because they were passing, and he's the guy that they want out there for pass protection right now. But he didn't even have a single carry, Ramondre, in the second half. They barely ran the ball at all. So it was like all focused on the passing game. That's why he was in a lot more. I think the role was really, really good for Henderson. And obviously we see the big plays. So the second drive, Henderson starts and he plays every single down, but the 3rd and 1, Ramondre comes in for that. They don't get it. They have to punt. Third drive, first carry, Ramondre Stevenson. Second is a designed Trayvon Henderson run. So exactly like on the first drive. So we're seeing them building stuff in intentionally for Henderson. The first drive of the second half, Trayvon Henderson on the field gets the ball. So I felt really, really good about it. Obviously, we see he gets way more touches than Ramondre. But when I saw the snaps, it made me nervous. But actually, I think this is just like an incredibly bullish game for Trayvon. They were doing things to get him going even before the big runs. And then after the big run in the first half, it's like he's starting in the second half, So I would expect Ramondre to still be the starter, probably get 5 to 10 carries, maybe some goal line work, but Henderson was the one who got the goal line work in this game. So I don't even know if Ramondre gets that, So where I'm at with Ramondre is like he's a really risky starter, and Henderson looks like an awesome starter. So that's great. All right. That's what fantasy people have wanted all along.
It is. And it's also a situation where it's like we know what Henderson's profile is. He was an explosive playmaker at Ohio State, was an explosive playmaker in the preseason. It's what got everyone excited. And he remains that I can touch the ball and score on any play, which at this point in your fantasy season, like it's a very valuable piece to have, considering the lack of trusted volume we have at both wide receiver and running back across the board. Like you need to be playing this player, I think. I mean, look, Ravens in Baltimore at Sunday night. I don't love the matchup there, but I do think he can score on any attempt. And I love the stats you brought up just about the role change, just about the involvement in the red zone. And then you got Jets in the fantasy championship, which could be a really big game for Trayvon Henderson. Depending on the game script, obviously, it might get out of hand and they might just lean on Ramondre, but he'll get you there to that point. So I think I don't want to say we underrated him when we did our rankings last week. We just didn't know what to trust because there are times this situation devolves to a point where it's like, all right, well, Ramon or whoever that lead back may be, that coach is just trusting he's on the field a lot. But it's good to see that they're trusting Henderson more. I would guess this could even continue to grow over these last 2-3 weeks as the Patriots are like vying for position in the playoffs, trying to still get that 1 seed.
Yeah, I mean, I think on paper, Ramondre makes some sense as a play. 67% snap rate, 66% of the routes. If next week's game against Baltimore, they get behind or it's like a back and forth game, then he'll probably be out there a lot. But against the Jets the next week, like it's probably going to be a ton of Henderson if I had to guess. It seems like they're loading him up here at the end, which is great. Didn't know if they would. That's pretty much it on that game. We've got a bunch of stuff to get you on the waiver wire. So I think it'll be really important for people to kind of like organize these, because it's like you've got the Jawad Jordan types where it's like if he gets the start, it could be huge. But either of Woody Marks or Nick Chubb could be back. They said that Chubb could have came back in the game, but they wanted to like preserve him. You know what I mean? But it's an
Right.
ankle injury, and sometimes those once
Talking
you
about
get out of the
Marks, you
game.
mean. Marks you're talking about.
Yeah, what did I say?
Yeah. Chubb, it's okay. They could have came back
Yeah,
in the game today.
Woody Marks, they said he could have come back and played this past week. But sometimes the ankle injuries, the adrenaline and everything, the swelling, once you get out of the game, it's like, actually, he's not going to
Yeah.
play this next
Agreed.
week. So I think like Jawar Jordan is somebody that people are really sleeping on because he played extremely well. He was somebody I kind of liked. I think it was last year he got drafted. And the team has liked him. They've held on to him. So he's interesting. But then again, he might not play, So like if there's maybe you're more inclined to go for somebody like Isaiah Davis or Sean Tucker or something like that, where they might get on the field. So just try to categorize these players and get you what you need for your week 16 games. Hopefully everybody here is still in it, but I did see some of the people in the chat have said that they're just here to hang out, which definitely appreciate y'all. Dan, how are you looking after the first? Yeah, right. That's cool. How are you looking after the first week of the fantasy playoffs?
I don't want to say because it's come off as braggadocious, which I have had a problem with on all across the board, all FFT. Though those who really know me know that mostly that's as a joke, but it's been my best year ever. I lost in one league. That was it. I had 4 buys. The only league I lost in was the one where the Roma Dunze debacle. But with that said, there's a lot of work to be done, right? Even those teams I had the bye weeks, I don't want to go out in the semis. And my main home leagues in the semis right now, I got tough battles ahead. I was the 4 seed in both, and I'm facing better teams going into this week. So it'll be interesting. I'm looking into a lot of these players as like potential starts. I have open flex opportunities for players like Jawar Jordan, who may like the Texans have seriously figured something out on offense. It's been pretty exciting in the last month and a half, really since Mills got in and then Stroud's been able to carry it over. And it's actually been exciting to watch the Texans offense. And they've actually figured out how to move the football, specifically like efficiently in the ground game. A big thing has been just bringing over the guy from Minnesota, Ed Ingram, I believe it is. Their interior guard. It's just been huge in that run game. But, there's a lot of players to talk about. We're going to categorize them all. I want to get to a player that I want to put into my category of never wrong, just late for Dynasty. One of my favorite players to watch.
Do you mean just early?
What'd you say?
Do you mean never wrong, just early?
Oh, yeah. Never wrong, just early. I don't. Someday I'm going to be able to get these right. One day I will understand how to say things like a normal human being. That day may never come, but I hope it will. But Audric Estime, my boy from Notre Dame, loved his tape. Literally loved his tape. Was drafted by Sean Payton. I'm like, let's ride. Broncos country, let's ride. We didn't ride. He got cut. We did no riding. But he looked really good on his screen touches and just exactly what I thought he would be. An explosive stop and start player who also has that ability to create after contact. I believe at Notre Dame, he was among the league leaders in yards after contact per attempt. So just another name I want to talk about later.
Estimate. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. That's a deep cut. Like there are some really, really deep cuts for this week that could be sneaky relevant, Yeah. I mean, Estimate, like it seems like, no, he's only on early downs. He's on the Saints. Right. They're not that good. They're playing the Jets.
I know.
They're decent favorites.
It doesn't look like Neal's going to play, so.
Yeah, like there's a real chance that Estimate gets like, I don't know, 15 carries this week. That wouldn't shock me if they're up and against the Jets and the Jets are just punting to them over and over.
Right.
Yeah, that it's a really interesting week. There are legitimately players that I think are potentially going to swing fantasy matchups heading into the championship game.
It is crazy.
That are just out there.
Yeah, on the wire.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of quarterbacks like if you like being able to successfully navigate the quarterback situation this week is going to be really, really important. I think if you lost Shane Daniels and you've been just like riding with Mariota or whatever, like you probably want to go a different direction this week. Who are you going to go with? Cousins? Like people have been talking about
Yota against the Eagles. You're right. There's no Yota.
No. So yeah, it's a really interesting week. We got some interesting stuff here from the chat before we take the first break here. We got FFT Lifer. Thank you so much. Pick 2 between Henderson, Javonte, and Mike Evans. And I brought this one up because I wanted to talk about Javonte. Javonte's role was really weird this week.
Yeah.
Did you notice that? Like him and Breece Hall both, but especially Javonte, barely played.
Because of the injury.
I think so too. Yeah. And they said like that he is probably going to be fine, but it's weird. Malik Davis has made some plays for them, and vibes are just kind of weird in Dallas in general.
Yeah.
I don't even want to get into the Pickens stuff.
The Pickens stuff's so scary.
As I look at this, it's clearly Henderson for me. And I mean, on paper, Javonte is probably a better play than Mike Evans, but I feel pretty good about Evans. in that spot against Carolina, and I would be fine going with him over Javonte, even in half PPR. Do you have any thoughts on him or Javonte?
It's a good question. I'm happy for you that you have 3 options that are exciting. We went over Henderson earlier. I think I'd play him. I'm not benching Evans anywhere, any place, anyhow. Evans was what I thought he would be when he came back, an absolute dominant ball winner who wins outside, who wins in. He just wins every single way. He's one of the best receivers in the NFL. Like I was funny this week. There was a lot of discussion. Like I ended up betting the over on his receiving yards last week, and everyone's like, I can't believe people think Evans. How does he have the highest projected total? It's like because he's by far and away better than Godwin and Ibuka. By far and away. He wins on the outside. He wins routes. You can just throw it up to him, and he's awesome. Like, he is one of the best players in the NFL. So I can think Evans will continue to, like, basically be a player that you drafted and thought you got to bust in because of the injury and now may win you your fantasy championship.
It's huge. Yeah, I had, like, kind of left him for dead, but he's coming back to, like, save a couple of my dynasty teams or give me a big boost here at the end. So, yeah, it's huge, man. Love it. All right, let's take our first break. We'll be right back. We've got some wide receivers to talk about and finish up the rest of these backfields for you.
When you need your sports news all the time,
we've got breaking news to bring to you.
CBS Sports HQ gives you a snapshot of all the sports that matter to you. When you need your sports in a snap, find it on CBS Sports HQ, streaming free anywhere you are.
And just one more thing before we actually get back into it. We've done a couple questions from the chat. We're going to do a little holiday episode tomorrow on Beyond the Box Score. So I wanted to put it out there now. We're going to do a mailbag episode. And for those of you who have followed any mailbag episodes from this show or from if you like my Giants podcast, they tend to get fun and wacky. You can put in obviously questions about your lineups, questions about your fantasy teams, but also we welcome all questions. Get as goofy as you want to. You want to ask about my horrific, unbelievably bad takes on movies, get into it. Food, I'll rip it. I'll just let it loose when it comes to food. I know food better than anybody. That's how I feel, and that's not how I actually feel, but it's how I pretend that I actually feel. But there's a lot of stuff that we would love to get into on a mailbag. It's time for a little Beyond the Box Score mailbag, the first of its kind. So we will be taking questions in a variety of ways. Hasn't fully been finalized, but I'm going to put out a tweet, and Jacob's going to put out a tweet. So we'll take some questions from Twitter. We'll take some questions in the chat for sure. That's obvious as the show goes, live questions. And then obviously we want to get some Spotify iTunes ratings. We need to get those up. We need to get back in the algorithm. Do it for us. Leave a comment, leave a like, hover that hand over the mouse, and put a question on Spotify and Apple, and we'll go find those.
So I kind of missed it at the beginning. Did you say you used to live down here in Fort Lauderdale?
No, I've just visited a bunch of times to that office.
Okay. Cool.
Nice.
Right? All right. So
walking outside.
Yeah, I'm loving it so far. What'd you say?
Just must be nice to be in 75 degrees. It's so freaking cold over here. My snow-packed backyard.
Sorry.
You're used to it.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I spent the weekend in Miami and now in Fort Lauderdale this week, and it's pretty great. Ugh. All right. Mo Dangles wants to know, are we almost done with Jaylen Warren? Decent floor, but low ceiling. What do you think? It was another week where Kenny Gainwell looked really good. The usage was good for Gainwell. So 52% of the snaps, 50% of the routes, that he just continues to be out there for more passing downs. 7 targets, 13 rushes for Gainwell to 12 for Warren, 2 for Caleb Johnson.
Wow.
Warren did get 2 carries inside the 10. He was only Steelers running back who got a carry from that range. So I guess, when you say low ceiling, I don't necessarily know if that's true. He could definitely get in the end zone. And they're in a potential shootout this week, but one where they're expected to be playing for behind. So he might just be losing snaps to Kenny Gainwell, right? How you feeling on Warren?
Yeah, this was a player that you were really high on and you were right on earlier in the season. And now I feel like the Steelers have turned the page a little bit on his role in the offense. It really has confirmed to me when I hear the post-game comments from Rodgers, yeah, we thought this guy was a steal. I love this guy. and I told him I want to get you paid. That to me is a sign down the stretch he's going to try to get him paid. I have Gainwell in a few spots, just from injuries throughout the year. Just been sitting on my bench, waiting to see. I'm probably loading him up for these fantasy semifinals. I don't see any real reason to go away from it. You're going to get volume in the passing game to give you a floor. And then there's obviously upside with Rodgers and him building that connection. And he's a pretty explosive player with the ball.
Yeah, for sure. No, I feel great about it. We've hit on Gainwell for a few weeks, so hopefully y'all were able to grab him and stash him because he's looked fantastic all year.
Yeah.
There's definitely upside, and because he plays on those passing downs, he's going to stay involved in pretty much any different type of game. That question asked, would you start
Warren
Luther Bird over over Jalen Warren. We'll get to some Luther Burden
Burden's
thoughts
hurt, isn't he?
for sure. Yes, he
Yeah.
did get banged up. He missed most of the second half. So we'll get
Yeah.
to that in a moment here. Let's run through these backfields. So Houston Texans, Jawar Jordan, I brought up 54% of the snaps. So he was playing pretty much just on early downs, but 14 of 18 running back runs after the Woody Marks injury. So this is 54% of the snaps after the Woody Marks injury. He avoided 5 tackles, which is low-key a lot for 14 carries. And he averaged 5.2 yards after contact per rush. Good matchup where we thought Woody was going to have a big game and probably was on his way to one. Jawar Jordan ends up capitalizing, topping 100 yards. Coaches really liked what they saw from him. Everything that they said was extremely positive. And so we'll see what happens with the running back room. But in terms of players who are available on waivers, and he's available everywhere,
Yeah.
I think this is clearly the highest upside player above anybody here, Bill, anybody like that, I think that there's a lot of upside with the way that Houston's defense is playing, that a player like this can get 15-ish carries at least. And their line is playing better too. The run game has been working a little bit better lately. So I'm pretty excited by him. If you don't like urgently need somebody to fill into that flex spot, he's an interesting target.
Yeah, everything you said, you outlined a great case for him. I mean, our competing options are, players I could get excited about, like Aldrick Estime, but he's splitting a role, and we don't even know if Devin Neal might play, though I do like that matchup. And then you mentioned Bill, who had, honestly, really his best game as a pro, I thought, on tape. Thought he looked decisive, thought he was explosive. All good things. I don't know if Chris Rodriguez will play, but it doesn't matter. They're playing the Eagles. So, it's like, great, Bill, you did great. It was fun. You played this horrific Giants run defense. I mean, his touchdown run was one of the most pathetic attempts from a defense I've ever seen in my life by the Giants defense. Just cut back and wide open hole with no linebackers over pursuing. Don't get me started on the Giants run defense right now. No, I did that to myself. But with that said, this is a higher upside play. Texans offense is producing in the run game. They're efficient. Like you said, the game script is good. There's really no reason not to like him if Woody Marks can't play.
The comment section is really fun today. I don't know if anybody's even listening to what we're saying about any of these running backs or anything. They're just here to goof around.
I didn't blow the whistle on who the producer was today. I don't know where I did that. Someone said I blew the whistle on who the producer was today.
I don't know anything about that or who the producer is today.
Oh, I did, actually.
What I did. What I do know is that Bill Krosky-Merritt, of course he played good. He is good. It's just been an awful season for Washington. What I do know, though, is he only ran 5 routes in this game, 5 total routes, 19% route rate in this game. So he had 18 of 27 running back runs. Washington was, playing the Giants, so they were able to, give him a lot of work. But yeah, if they fall behind the Eagles, which is probably likely, then it wouldn't surprise me at all if we get more points for Jeremy McNichols than Bill, even if Rodriguez is out this next week. I actually think McNichols in PPR leagues is a decent add, and Bill is going to be pretty low on my ranks when we get to doing that later when we rank the running backs pickups for this week. I one more thing on the Bucs, man. So the Ibuka stuff was discouraging. Bucky Irving's usage is discouraging. If you were hoping for these players to come back and save you at the end, I don't feel great about it. Personally, I feel that. I've got a lot of Bucky Irving in my life, of course. So it's 56% snap rate. Doesn't look awful. But we early in the year, when we were getting really excited about Bucky, it was like 80, 85%, stuff like that. 16 of 21 running back runs. Love that. No runs in the red zone for the second straight week. Sean Tucker, who barely played, was on the field for 6 of 7 snaps inside the 10-yard line. He had 3 rushes and a touchdown inside the 10-yard line, and those were all on separate drives. They brought him in for a goal line carry on 3 separate drives. So it looks clearly like they are using him in that way. That's like the role that they have designated for Sean Tucker. I think they want to reward him for playing well, and he's a strong dude. And so Rachaad White is playing on passing downs. 38% route rate for Bucky Irving in this game, which isn't bad, but he ran fewer, routes than Rachaad White. I think he had 3 targets. So it's like, what? He's a guy who only plays, between the 20s, 20 to 20. Like, that's the only time he plays, and he doesn't really get that many routes or targets. Like, on obvious passing downs, he comes off the field.
Running offense that is kind of clearly taking a step back from last year, too.
That's pretty rough. That's
You know
pretty
what's
rough. So
interesting? It's like I was thinking about texting. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
I was just going to say, I don't even know if he'll be like a top 15 running back for me this week. Like they're
Yeah.
playing the Panthers defense, which is probably neutral, but I think the Panthers could just try to run the ball so much that it's like that. This just feels like a very good chance that you might get like 5 to 8 points from Bucky Irving, like he basically
Right.
has to have a big play for a touchdown or something like that.
Yeah, or score in that like intermediate range he has like 2 weeks ago, like a 10 to 12 yard TD. I think he could still get you to save a week. I would still be fine playing him given the situation we have across the board at fantasy and running back and flex in general. But I think, what's really interesting is I was thinking about texting you about this when I was watching that game. I see this happen with teams sometimes. Like, so Bucky Irving gets injured midseason. Sean Tucker steps up. Sean Tucker looks really good on tape for them. They're all watching it. Every coach is like, this dude's good. Then Bucky Irving comes back, and it's like, well, Bucky's back, so we have no role for Sean. We got to keep him involved, though. Like, he's earned it. So let's just use him as our red zone back now. And then they have this defined role for the player. In this case, it's Sean Tucker. And for fantasy, it's really just a nightmare because they need to get him on the field somehow, Tucker. He's earned that role for them. And so I think this is probably how it carries over the rest of the season, right? Like they're not going to find other ways to they gave Tucker a couple other touches throughout the game. They used them on like toss crack and stuff because he's good on that. But this is how I expect it to play out rest of season, how you just broke it down. Maybe a little bit more of a receiving role, I hope, for Irving. But you're right. Like without the red zone role, it's tough.
It's tough for sure. All right. A few other backfields I want to get into. Kansas City Chiefs. Another start for Isaiah Pacheco. We ended up again seeing Kareem Hunt get more and more work as the game went on, and they're trying to not let their season slip away.
Yeah.
But season has slipped away. I don't think that it makes any sense really to be grinding out Kareem Hunt at this point. To me, I mean, if I'm playing, Madden with the Chiefs here or whatever, like I'm going to Brashard Smith a lot. My guess, though, for real life, what we're going to see is probably a lot of Isaiah Pacheco in this game. Like, let's give Pacheco a game to kind of find his footing and see what he can do, because it's been a lost season for him. And he's a guy that the team loves. He's been really important to the team. And the timing is perfect. They're playing against the Titans. And I don't know why they would want to just like drop back a ton with Gardner Minshew. So I think we might, legitimately see like 20 touches from Pacheco in this game. That wouldn't surprise me. I doubt you're not going to project him for that, but he could push up into 15 or 20 touches against the Titans.
Right.
Pretty realistically. And he's available in a decent number of leagues. So I wanted to just bring that up. I know it's not going to feel good to have Isaiah Pacheco in your lineup, right? But I could see it. I don't know. Like, I think he's somebody who's going to go completely overlooked this week because we're picking up all these players who are new, who are like stepping in, and Pacheco's like been back, but hasn't been doing anything. But to me, it's like everything is shifting for the Chiefs starting right now. And the matchup against the Titans is, although the Titans have played the run decently tough, they're easier to attack through the air. So I'm curious if you have any thoughts on that, Dan.
I do. It's something we can't ignore. We just simply can't look at the board and be like, well, Mahomes is out. Let's ignore the Chiefs because it's Titans. It's one of our best matchups. I know they've been a little bit better against the run, but this is a defense that I don't really expect to be too efficient in this game. Well, I will say this. They've been better since Jeffrey Simmons came back. They're a completely different defense with and without Jeffrey Simmons in the middle of that defense. So maybe isn't as slam dunk as we hope. Right. I like as far as Pacheco goes, like I'd be okay doing it as in the range of like the Jawar Johnson types we're talking about, and these like flyer guys you can get off your waiver to put in your back end flex. I wouldn't be expecting anything serious at him, and I still think that he runs the risk of losing red zone touches to Kareem Hunt, if there even are that many red zone touches with Gardner Minshew in. What I wanted to ask you about was across the board the rest of this team, specifically Rashee. Like I'm in some tough spots with Rashee Rice this week, and I strongly lean toward wanting to bench him for some of my different options. Where are you at with Rashee Rice with Gardner? Do you have any, I have no real idea of what Gardner is going to be for this offense.
Well, I do think that he'll probably do mostly short passing.
Okay.
He's not quite as limited as some quarterbacks in terms of being able to attack the middle area of the field, but he doesn't really like to attack the middle area of the field. So that does worry me a little bit with Rice. But I feel all right about him. I think it's a low upside play, Rice. He's gonna have to break a long one for a touchdown or something to get you more than probably 15, 18 points. But I think that he could still be decent for PPR, have a decent floor. I think he'll probably have a 25 to 30% target share.
Yeah, so it could just be one of those ugly, like 6-7 receptions for 45 or 50 type games from Rashee Rice.
Yeah, I would view him as like slightly better than Deebo Samuel.
Okay.
Like similar kind of play.
Okay. Yeah, it's interesting. I mean, he got us there. He was a player that we were flag playing, especially you. It just stinks that this is kind of where we're at with him heading into the semifinals of the fantasy playoffs. It's hard to feel good on that front. Like a player who's actually been second best player, I think, by pure point standpoint, his position, which is crazy to think about. Is Travis Kelce a play?
Tied in 2 on the year, Travis Kelce. Is that who you're talking about?
That's what I'm talking about. He's somehow tied in 2 on the year, which is insane.
Yeah. I mean, he is in theory a decent play. I think like if you're just projecting, he'll look all right. I just don't know like what his role will be or where he's at with all of this, you know?
You got to imagine he's like done.
That's what I'm saying.
We barely wanted to play in the first place. Like
we're in uncharted territory for the Chiefs here.
True.
He's the one I would feel the like most scared about playing against the Titans in Week 16 of this season.
Yeah.
Want to talk about some more running backs? I don't want to talk about the Chiefs anymore. Just
all right, we can get off the Chiefs. I think I'll say one more thing. I would feel more. I actually think he's going to lean on Kelce more than Rice. That would be my one take there. I feel we'll be a little bit more disappointed in Rice, but we can move off the Chiefs. They're really disappointing.
I could see that. Yeah, I wouldn't want to start either if I had other options that I felt
good about. Too.
All right, Chargers. Kamani Vidal, again, leading the backfield, 63% snap rate, 55% route rate, 12 rushes for him, 15 for Hampton. So again, in any type of game where they're playing from the behind, I think it's going to be more of Vidal, and I would be nervous about Hampton. We saw them, play with a lead against the Chiefs, so it was fine for both of them. And for Hampton, he was able to get 15 carries, but like, they'll probably be fine against Dallas, but they're on the road against Dallas, which is a team that if they play well can put up points on any defense, even the Chargers, which is playing really well. So wanted to bring that up. Also wanted to bring up that Hampton is just playing so freaking great this year, man. He's top eight in the league in avoided tackle rate and yards after contact per rush. Vidal has had a great year. Like he's also averaging over 3 yards after contact per rush, and Hampton's numbers are better than his, like across the board. So regardless of what happens to close out the year, I would think by week 17, maybe he'll be in as the lead back. But it has been, I think, a really encouraging year for Hampton, even though it's been broken up by injuries and stuff.
Broken up by injuries, not only to him, but to his entire offensive line. Hampton will be a player I for sure can foresee myself next summer when we're doing this, Jacob, being much higher than consensus on. I just know myself. I believed a lot in the prospect profile. Like I was a huge fan of his NC tape. To me, he comped a lot to Jonathan Taylor, who out of Wisconsin. And obviously he's become one of the best players in fantasy.
Yeah. Okay. A few more to get through here, and then we're going to take another break. So I mentioned Isaiah Davis briefly. He had a 47% snap rate in the second half. So he outsnapped Breece Hall in the second half, had 9 for 58 and a touchdown on the ground. And he's not been playing quite as well as Kenneth Gainwell, but like Gainwell, he's a player who we know can play on passing downs. So he's just somebody to keep an eye on. I wouldn't want to have to use him this week against the Saints with no news on like Breece having an injury or anything unless I've missed it. But maybe if like this happens again, maybe we just see Isaiah Davis kind of like take the job in week 17. If they just like kind of go away from Breece, like Breece. That's right. Like that's where they're at, if that happens.
I like the speculative ad.
Yeah, if you can afford to do that, depending on where you're at with your season. Thank you so much, Producer Debo. Okay, Tyrone Tracy. Obviously, like I'm sure Dan knows, but like he looked so freaking good in this game, and I just want to bring that up because he's a player that we've been
original BTBer from last year when we didn't even have a show. We just loved him.
Yeah, we've been very excited about Tracy, but yeah, the usage was really good for them. This is another team coming out of the bye, like 76% snaps, 68% routes, ran 30 routes in this game. Like that's a ton for a running back. Had a really cool receiving touchdown. Is worth noting that Singletary was still on the field in short yardage situations in the red zone. 5 of 8 short yardage situations overall was Singletary, but just a really, really cool game from Tracy. I think, I listened to yesterday's Beyond the Box Score with Adam, and you said he's just might just be the best playmaker on the Giants. And I was like,
Currently,
that is that's kind of where we've arrived. I remember when Scotty Boo got hurt, you and I were like, I feel like it makes sense that they'll get more and more receiving stuff for Tracy, but it hadn't really materialized. So pretty interesting to see it happen in this game. And I think he's a decent starter, and he's honestly like available in some leagues, but even in leagues where he's not, like if you've been holding on to him, I know it's been frustrating at times, and we never really like, do you feel because of this game there's any more predictability really, or do you think that we could see it go back to more of a 50-50 type of split?
I think no. I've thought for a while like this wasn't the split that it was made out to be. Since Kafka took over as interim head coach, there's been a big concerted effort to make Tracy more involved. When Kafka was not there after Scadaboo, it was more of a 50-50 split during the Dable time. There's a difference between those two as far as their interpretation of how to use these players. And when it comes to Tracy, like, it's different how he's been involved in the passing game than Scadaboo was before Scadaboo's injury with the Giants. He's been used as more of an actual receiver, which is what he did before converting to running back at Purdue. He was a receiver at Iowa, Tyrone Tracy. And you saw it on back shoulder fade, man. Like, that adjustment to the ball, that's rare for a running back to be able to make that adjustment, make that catch. So I think that'll just continue to grow. They need him. That's the only, like I said, they don't have much playmakers on this offense. And he even got a really nice touchdown in the red zone with really good stop and start ability, excellent processing, the things I like to see from Tracy, which is good vision before contact, and then that stop and start ability. Also good yards after the contact. It was just overall a very good game. When we did our film review, Jacob, me and Nick always give out best player on tape, and it's always like Andrew Thomas. Sometimes it's been Jackson Dart or neighbors. This is the first one that we gave to Tyrone Tracy or any running back. Or no, we gave a couple to Scadaboo, but Tyrone Tracy first of the year, so he was really good on tape. The problem for me with Tracy, because we talked about it yesterday, is just this Minnesota matchup. It's going to be another cold game in MetLife like it was. It was really hard to move the ball in that cold. Obviously, those two defenses are so horrific, the Washington and Giants defenses, and they've quit on their team. You know, it's end of the year. They're 2-12, 3-11. That like offense was had. I don't know how much offense is going to be had from the Giants against the Vikings type defense. Like Brian Flores obliterated them last year. It was Daniel Jones. It was week 1 of last season, but it was like an absolute obliteration from an offense. I don't even know if the Giants had like 100 yards of offense total until the fourth quarter. So that's my one concern, that the Giants offense just gets completely shut down.
In Jackson Dart, we trust.
You trusted him last week, and he found a way to score fantasy points, man. I don't know how he did it. He just always somehow gets touchdowns.
He's a stud. Love this from Johnny Airport in the chat. Did producer Debo just bring Jacob a beanie because his head is cold? Is that what happened? People have really loved. No, I needed a charger because I'm not prepared.
It was a rare producer Debo appearance, which is great.
I know, right? I was like, that's pretty cool.
Debo's the man.
Okay. Colby Parkinson, definitely one. There's some interesting stuff with the Rams tight ends. I'll just tease that. You guys know who I have my eyes on for the Rams tight ends, of course. Parkinson for sure. We'll get to that after our break here. Last running back I want to mention, Aaron Jones, really quickly. 60% snap rate, 66% route rate. So it wasn't a big game, but this is more like the usage that we'd seen earlier and next against the Giants. So I think he's potentially a really good start this week. Not somebody you're going to pick up on waivers. But this is a move in the right direction. All right, we're going to take our second break. We'll be right back.
Hi.
Novocaine?
Novocaine!
Novocaine is now streaming on Paramount Plus.
You're gonna love this.
Oh, you're strong!
It's wildly entertaining and an absolute blast.
I'm in.
Novocaine, rated R, now streaming on Paramount Plus.
Okay, LA Rams, Davante Adams, probably going to miss Thursday night. Terrible timing, of course. Man, this was a brutal week for me for fantasy. Like, I've got Mahomes in a bunch of leagues, and I've got Rice in a bunch of leagues. And so they're obviously that's brutal. And then I've got Devontae in a lot of leagues too. So what do we do with this? No, what do we do with this? I don't think there's anything among the LA receivers that is honestly affected by this in an actionable way for fantasy. I think, Dave on this morning's FFT Waiver Wire show gave some good stats on Colby Parkinson's red zone role. I think that's relevant and interesting. So check that out if you don't know what I'm talking about. But I want to point you towards Terrence Ferguson once again, because when I ever led you astray with this, for the record, I've never said that he's going to matter for fantasy this year. Just intrigued
this year
by it. Yeah. but he might. That we're actually at the point where I'm like, okay, actually he might. He led the team in routes run this week. He ran more routes than Puka Nacua. So not only is out there, to block and stuff,
That's
which
crazy.
is great. I love that they're getting him out there to block. He led the team in routes run. So last week, week 14, he had a 45% route rate, and that was his first rate above 35% all year. This week, it spiked again up to 71%. 13 routes in the slot. That's more than double his previous high. He ran a route. He was out there for every drop back after the Davante Adams injury. So we know they're using a lot of 3 tight ends. He also will split out wide and into the slot quite a bit. Only 52% of his snaps came in line at tight end. So he's the one that they get out and move a little bit more, and I think can kind of replace a little bit of the Davante stuff. He's a huge guy. Even early in the year when he wasn't playing hardly at all, McVay was getting him on the field on occasion in like 3rd and 1, 4th and 1 type situations and stuff like that, and running routes on isolation to him where it's like 3-by-1. He's the one on the other side with no other receivers on his side or anything. And to me, that's kind of like Davante, what they do with him a little bit. So I think most likely it's Parkinson who's going to benefit in the red zone. And he's the player who you feel more safe with because he's been out there playing more and he's been scoring points. But I think Ferguson's really interesting for deep leagues. And at the very least, if you have a roster spot that you aren't using really, like if you feel real good about your starting lineup, I feel like he makes a lot of sense as a speculative ad in case the Davante thing lingers. Please no. But if that were to happen, right? Like, and T-Ferg has a big game on Thursday night, then you're ahead of it. You're ahead of the people rushing to pick this guy up. So I wanted to bring that up because I was shocked to see how high his route rate was this week.
Well, I'm insanely intrigued just to start. I'm insanely intrigued by the idea of him being used as that backside X and 3-by-1 set. Just because, like, that's something I could see McVay. Like, how are we going to adjust to Davante Adams being out? And just to be clear, Adams has not been ruled out yet, but I'd be shocked if he plays on a Thursday night football on the hamstring. And I'm worried about him for fantasy championship as well. I think he might just be done for us, unfortunately, as Nico continues to just go off and haunt me for that trade that I made. With that said, am I intrigued enough to like consider playing him this week? Probably not. I'm also kind of even nervous just to play Colby Parkinson. I know he's been scoring a lot, but this matchup in general, I think it's going to be a lot less offense than we're expecting. The Seahawks offense has really started to take a step back. They look to me, I mean, I watched the entire game. I thought they looked terrible against the Colts. And that was partially like a great game plan by Lou Anarumo. But we're now facing another one of the best coordinators so far this year, Chris Shula. So I don't feel great about that at all. Or I'm sorry, Chris Shula. So I don't feel great about offense in that game.
Yeah, I feel the same way. Okay, let's talk about some of these other receiver injuries. Briefly here, Ricky Pearsall. I think it's just Kendrick Bourne is probably the pickup. Ooh. And you're probably done with Pearsall. But, Bourne, it sounds like it's like a re-aggravation of the PCL thing. Don't know for sure on that. Probably done. But he played most of the game. Pearsall did. Had a good game. 6 for 96, 25% target share. So I think that we'll probably just see, like maybe a few more targets go to Juwan Jennings. But it's also possible that somebody steps into this role and is meaningful and in the downfield role. And Kendrick Bourne, we've seen play really well at times this year. So for deep leagues, he's a name to know. For the Bears, Roma Dunze aggravates the toe, misses the game. Obviously frustrating. Luther Burden played extremely well, but barely played in the second half. So he did almost all of this damage in the first half. 6 targets, 5 catches, 78 receiving yards in the first half, 74% route rate before his injury. That was much better than it had been at any other point this season. 33% target share for the rookie in the first half. So somehow he's still available in like most CBS leagues.
Yeah.
So if you're in a league where you can make a pickup and you don't have to, like, it's not like this is my one pickup, my one bullet, and I need the person to play this week. Anything where that's not the case, I think Burden's got to be at the top of your waiver wire priorities this week. Because if he's playing and Odunze's not, you're talking about, I'm probably going to rank him irresponsibly high if that's the case. Like if he's playing and Odunze's out, given what we've seen all year long on a per opportunity basis, and then given what we've seen these last couple of weeks when he gets the role, this is a really, really exciting player. And I like this offense. This offense is playing pretty well. They barely passed the ball in the second half, though. Obviously, they're beating the Browns easily. That's something we could see from this team. But I don't know, man. I think this game against Green Bay will probably be pretty competitive. And Micah Parsons just tore his ACL. Yep. So this could be a game where the Bears put up some points. And so Burden is interesting. And what if Burden and Odunze are both out? Then you could go with Olumide Zaccheaus. I honestly think Colson Loveland, kind of like we just talked about with Terrence Ferguson, like Loveland will probably benefit in a big way from this. DJ Moore, Zaccheaus, and Loveland were the players who clearly led in routes run after the Burden injury, for what it's worth. So I think those are the players you're looking at. And Loveland is still available in some leagues, so go ahead and check and see if you can find him.
Yeah, so Rome Odunze re-aggravated the injury in warmups, and from what I heard from Ben Johnson this week, I think it's kind of we're going to sit him till the playoffs type situation. Yeah. So I wouldn't expect him. Burden missed most of the second half. We'll get updates this week. Don't typically see those players. Like sometimes they'll play the next game, but let's put that at 50-50. I'm doing it, man. Like it was our flag plan at the position, and I have a lot of lineups this week where I am loading up Colston Loveland. Am I super confident in it? No. Is the tight end possession, can you be confident about anyone at tight end besides Trey McBride? No. So we roll and we move forward.
We roll.
Loveland, and we take a look at the matchup. We don't think it's that bad. Micah Parsons off the field. There was good. He's been more designed, a bigger part of the offense in the second half. We know he's a stud player. So yeah, I feel good about it. And I'm going to go with Loveland for this game. He's the one I'm most excited about seeing if those two players are out, Odunze and Burden.
Yeah. And you talk about Ben Johnson, what he's been saying. He's been ranting about Loveland, which he loves to do. But he's doing it again, just like says that the trust continues to build with him and Caleb. And he's just he's just shown them so much. It's been a really, really good year for him. It was a slow start for a number of reasons. All right. Chat says, I think if Jayden Reed is available, he is the wide receiver to get. I don't disagree. I'm pretty interested in this. So I also think Romeo Doubs is a great pickup. Christian Watson hurt in this game, and if he misses, then I think Doubs will see an increase to his playing time. I didn't find anything that suggested that his target rate will increase in a big way, especially with Jayden Reed back and healthy. His target per route run rate has been negligible in terms of the impact that it's had with Watson on and off the field this year. But he had an 81% route rate following the Watson injury in this game. And that's where we saw him early in the year when Watson and Reed were both out. It was like him and then, Matthew Golden, Dontavian Wicks were the next guys. But he was the clear wide receiver, was on the field almost all the time. And that had kind of fallen off with Watson back. So if you can find him or Reed is the bigger playmaker, but isn't going to be out there playing as much. I think they're both pretty interesting in a matchup here against Bears. It's going to be cold. It might be a game that's a lot of running on both sides. But if it gets heated up at all, I think either of those wide receivers could have good games.
Yeah, I'm with it. I mean, look, it's going to be a situation where we're getting what we've hoped we were going to get at some point, better game script for the Packers pass game due to Micah Parsons being out, which I think will have an immediate impact on their defense. So I don't hate it. It's tough. It's just tough for me to count on any of those players from it. As we know, it's just tough to count on the volume there, but I think Reed's the one I would count on the most.
All right. Yeah. I think that makes sense. I'm plugging Doubs in for Davante Adams this week in a really important matchup. Don't love it.
I may have to Dobbs in one too. So it is what it is.
Yeah. What are you going to do?
He catches touchdown. He could do it.
Yeah. The other receiver who stepped into a larger role this week that's gone a bit under the radar is Trey Harris, rookie for the Chargers with Quentin Johnston out, 82% route rate. So he was out there significantly more than Keenan Allen. He was second on the team in yards behind Aronde Gadsden. He was second in first read target rate behind Keenan Allen. Only 2 first read targets the whole game for Ladd McConkey, which is pretty sweet. Yeah, we really like Trey Harris here, and he's another one who's just been getting awesome coach speak lately. They're like, he looks like he's been in the league for 4 or 5 years. It's amazing what he's shown us in terms of progression this year. He can run every route from every spot, and it's just like, that is really good to hear from a guy that we know is really powerful, dominant athlete,
And somebody who mostly just played X in the college level. So that is really good here.
Yeah. So that's pretty cool. Really encouraging long-term note. I know a lot of dynasty sites have his value as like diminishing this rookie season.
Not
and
us.
I don't feel that way at all. We need to have a dynasty site, you and me, Dan. That'd be
we should do our own dynasty where we don't like fall for like, oh, Trey Harris hasn't played a lot this year. You're gonna drop him. No, you don't. He's awesome and he's tied to Justin Herbert.
He is awesome.
Get their tackles back next year.
Yeah. So deep leagues. I think he's somebody to know. Well, let's do waiver wire now, and we can organize some of these.
All right. For people. Rip a little waiver wire, little WW.
All right, at QB on the WW this week, I think top priority remains CJ Stroud, but he's not available in that many leagues. 28% of CBS leagues he's available, but he's got the Raiders this week, so see if you can find him. Kirk Cousins is next for me, man. So let me give you the candidates here. Kirk Cousins is available in 75% of CBS leagues. He's on the road against the Arizona Cardinals. The Falcons are implied for a lot of points. The other quarterbacks in similar range in terms of availability are JJ McCarthy on the road against the Giants.
Yeah.
Tyler Shuck at home against the Jets. Bryce Young at home against the Bucks. And I'm going to stop there because I've got a few other kind of weird ones that I want to talk through beyond that trio. So you got Bryce, you got Shuck, you got JJ McCarthy. Is Cousins the top one for you?
Well, I would put Bryce by far the last of those ones.
Me too.
I'm excited about pretty much everything across the board there. I think upside wise, you're playing to win your league. Like just go for the hit. The top one is JJ, to be quite frank. And it's this trash Giants defense. He runs for a ton of touchdowns. I think he's been like the only guy to have like a rushing touchdown and 2 passing touchdowns. Rookies, some weird stat I saw, that some cherry pick stat that always makes a player look good. But he is running and he does create explosive plays. Starting to get a better feel for that offense. I think he's gonna have a big game just against this Giants defense. So he'd be one for me. The safest play is Cousins, as crazy as that sounds. Just based on the matchup, based on the fact that, like, let's put some respect on his name. Cousins looked awesome against the Bucks. Like, genuinely got the ball out fast with anticipation, 2 spots. I thought, like, people are like, oh, Cousins' arm is shot. No, you want to see an arm that's shot? Go watch the Indianapolis Colts. That's what a shot arm looks like. No offense. Love the guy, Philip Rivers. Glad he did the coolest thing ever. Come back at 44, but he cannot throw a football anymore with any kind of pace whatsoever.
Not just come back at 44, almost win that game.
Almost win a game.
He basically led like a game-winning drive against the Seahawks, and like he was changing everything at the line. Like he was reading out the defense and like getting throws off quick to beat their different defenses.
It's essentially like
defense that's,
yeah.
I thought that was one of the coolest things I've seen all year in the NFL.
Easily the coolest thing in the NFL. Also, just such a clear like indicator at how much the quarterback position is a mental position. Like you can literally be better off with a player who has no physical attributes left in his body to play the position and is completely out of shape, but literally can just get them in the right place pre-snap and just understand where the space is going to be post-snap. And he did that like multiple times for solutions that I doubt Riley Leonard would have found, which is why they played him. It's so reminiscent to me of like that last Super Bowl year for Peyton Manning when his neck was like he come back from the neck injury and he just like barely could throw a football, and they won a Super Bowl with him just getting them into the right plays and audibling and making pre-snap checks. So it was cool to see, but I would say this, just bringing it back to Cousins, I feel like he's thrown the ball pretty well. He threw the ball really well against Tampa, and he's thrown with anticipation. He's got a sick connection going with Pitts, and he might be getting London back. So safest play of the week is Kirk Cousins, but I do think JJM has a little bit more upside.
Okay, yeah. I think that we're basically in the exact same place.
Yeah, it's a good week
and I think
quarterbacks.
Yeah. I think that there is like upside for Cousins, like we kind of just saw, where you can get some catch and run type stuff going. But I think I do agree that JJ McCarthy probably has the most upside on paper, and it's not. I mean, it is hypothetical, but like it's pretty realistic given the way that the Giants defense is playing. I feel like that he could get to that
exactly.
Yeah.
Let me ask you a quick question that I'm battling in. A league that I've just gotten super hot on at the end, bad start, and now I've made it to the semis, was the league where I just enacted the play I said preseason, which is wait at quarterback and just pick off auction value for Trevor Lawrence and CJ Stroud. It was horrific for a while. Those are my 2 calls, if you remember, from preseason BTB. And they're back now. They're working somehow. But like Stroud and Lawrence carried me last week in my playoff matchup. It was awesome. Scored like 75 combined between those 2. With that said, would you consider benching Lawrence against the Broncos in a ridiculously bad matchup, or Kirk Cousins, who I have on my bench, or benching Stroud for Kirk Cousins. That one I'm probably not doing.
Who was the first one before Stroud? Lawrence?
Yeah,
Lawrence against the Broncos, or
Cousins with London possibly back. It's a tough spot. We're
yeah, it's
debating
really
it all
tough.
week.
It feels like no, you like can't bench Lawrence because
Feel
he's
that way
playing
too.
so well right now. But on paper, like they're only applied for 21 points against the Broncos. In a game that has a like 45.5 point over under, that's higher than I would have expected. So I honestly wouldn't be surprised if that 21 comes down slightly.
True.
Falcons are applied for 25. Who was it? Was Stroud the other option?
Stroud, yeah, I could bench him too.
Stroud,
I doubt it.
And the Texans are applied for 26.
Right.
Obviously, it's not so easy as to just copy paste implied totals into fantasy points, but I just think that speaks to the concern with Lawrence. Let us know in the chat if you think we're crazy on that, because it's been great. It's been very, it's been very cool and encouraging to see Lawrence do this and make the plays. It's not just Liam Cohen doing this for him.
No, at all.
But we also do know that it's Trevor Lawrence, right? And like at any point, it can come back. Like
it could fall apart for us. The snap of a finger.
Yeah, I'll dig more into that for sure, because that'll be one of the most important decisions for people this week. Lawrence, BTJ, what are we doing with these players? You pretty much start Etienne, of course, but like the rest of them, what the heck are we doing in this matchup? We'll definitely hit on that on Thursday in Mastering Matchups. Sure. So real quick for the chat, we've got people asking about Trey Harris. And I'm going to drop a link in the chat. Dan and I are obsessed with this guy. We've talked about him a lot. And so they're asking, like, what is he? What can he, like, is he slot? Is he perimeter? In college, it was clearly win on the perimeter. Dan said, X receiver, that's what he was doing. Like the comparisons were like DK Metcalf, Alec Pierce, stuff like that. George Pickens or whatever.
Reminded me of Terry McLaurin, just for the record.
Yeah. I remember you saying that. That was one that I hadn't heard that much. It was cool. You can watch some of his film there if you go and find that on my Twitter.
Yep.
But also, like, I do think that they've really prioritized starting this preseason. They were having him run almost exclusively horizontally breaking routes. So they were trying to see, like, can he do more than just what we saw in film in college where he was so dominant? And that's really interesting. I think that, like, the chat is kind of salivating over, like, Lan McConkey, Gadsden, Trey Harris. Like, what's it going to look like if we get, some of the old guys out and the new guys in? And it's like, it could be really cool. And I think that they can move all of them around a lot. I think he's a really speculative start if Quentin Johnson's even out, for now. But he's had a couple opportunities to play this year and has done pretty well. And I think long-term, he's a very, very interesting player because we know he can dominate as the perimeter receiver, ball winner, all that stuff. But then they've been testing out, can he win as a route winner in terms of shaking people and getting open on the horizontal plane? And he's done it pretty dang well. Week 6, he got like a full game in and he didn't get a ton of targets or anything. But I went and watched all those routes and he was winning a lot of them. He's electric.
His stop-start ability is awesome. And in the red zone, he is going to be a weapon at some point. And he has been at times already this year. But as we move forward, definitely more of a dynasty stash. But my God, I can't. We assume Keenan will retire potentially. There's still going to be. QJ is still on his rookie deal. Like he's only going into year 4 of his rookie deal next year, so he's going nowhere. Obviously, Gadsden's proven to earn targets. I will say this: earlier this year, before all the injuries, the Chargers were really fun and pass first for the first time ever in this system, and they looked electric. I will be super high on the Chargers offense next year in fantasy football. I'll probably have Herbert everywhere. I'll probably have a bunch of these guys. They're going to it's all just about getting Rashawn Slater and Joe Alt back. Nobody, like the fact that Herbert's doing what he's doing and winning this amount of games with this situation, playing through a broken hand, all the other injuries, both his offensive tackles are out and they have like bad backups. Like no one, like everyone discredits Justin Herbert, and I'm just going to go on my soapbox for a minute. He is one of the best quarterbacks in the NFL. I believe he's one of the elite quarterbacks. In no way, shape, or form would I ever, in a redraft, take Jalen Hurts, for example, over a player like Justin Herbert. I want to make that clear.
Yep. I definitely think it could be pretty cool next year if we get everybody healthy.
It will be.
All right, let's wrap up with the quarterbacks here. So at the top, Stroud, if he's available. Cousins, probably the best overall play among widely available guys, but JJ McCarthy maybe has more upside. and then Tyler Shuck is next. Bryce Young was clearly the lowest of that group to Dan and I. I'm curious if any of these next players you would pick up and start before Bryce. So Bryce is available in 66% of CBS leagues. He's playing home against the Bucs, must-win game. Bucs are easier to attack through the air than on the ground. The other three are Tua, who nobody wants to play, but the Dolphins are implied for 26.
Miami may not even want to play him.
Okay.
He may not start.
Maybe. Yeah, no, that's fair. If Tua's in, Vegas is projecting as if he will be in. 26-point implied total is really, really high. It's one of the highest of any team this week. Mariota versus Philly, probably don't want to go there. Does run. Deeper leagues only. Aaron Rodgers at Detroit, big underdog, could be forced to throw more. 50.5-point over-under in this game is tied with that Miami game that I just mentioned. So it's Miami versus Cincinnati. It's Pittsburgh versus Detroit. Those are the only two games with an over-under above 50 points. So I'm wondering what you think about either of those two. They're not quarterbacks we've liked to go to. They're not. Their team doesn't even like to go to them that much. The teams seem to prefer to run the ball. But if we see their games turn into back and forth, playing for behind type of games, then either of them could be good for fantasy. And the last one, of course, 92% available. Phillip Rivers versus the Niners. I know, but
Oh God,
this
you're sick.
defense is much easier to attack than Seattle, and this offense is much better than Seattle, San Francisco. And so what if Indy gets in a come from behind game where Rivers does have to drop back 30, 35 times or something? They can't just grind it out Jonathan Taylor over and over. I don't know if
The funniest thing is
much.
it's some of us are gonna have to. The funniest, that league that I told you about, my biggest buy-in league, the league where I had to trade Nico Collins and RJ Harvey basically for Jackson Dart because it's a 14-team super flex where QBs get a half point per completion, and I was down injuries. I lost Daniel Jones and I had to bid my budget on Rivers. So I am riding with Rivers. There will at least find one person on this podcast who is riding Rivers to potentially his fantasy championship. Don't know what he can give us. I wouldn't play him if you're in a normal league and you don't have to play him. He'd be definitely the lowest on my list. No rushing upside at all. And just, yes, it was Seattle defense, dude, but I just don't, he just can't throw the ball really that much anymore from a physical standpoint.
Okay. So any of those four names over Bryce Young, Mariota, Tua, Rodgers?
Am I yodeling over Bryce Young? I don't know. The rushing makes me kind of want to, but no, I think it's going to be a gross game for the Washington offense in that cold Philly game in Washington. No, Bryce.
Okay, so then Bryce is fifth, I think, behind
I'm still shocking over him for sure.
And then Tua next, Rodgers next, Mariota.
No, Rodgers for sure.
Rodgers next, Rodgers over Bryce.
Rodgers over Bryce, and I made Rodgers over Shuck. Just I like the game script better there in Detroit. Nice environment, and it should be a shootout.
Okay. People are saying that we're kind of crazy here with our Rivers take. You don't know what type of leagues other people are playing in. We're trying to help out.
Dude, I'm in a 14-team super flex. What do you want from me?
Yeah.
I have no option. I picked up Pickett too. I may be able to consider Pickett if he starts again. Minshew is rostered already. This league's so sick that everyone who drafts a quarterback, so it's an auction league, Jacob, with a 330 budget. Quarterbacks go in the good quarterbacks go in the hundreds. Everyone just blows their budget out on quick because you have to. They get a half point per completion, and it's 14-team super flex. It's everything. But what happens is everyone handcuffs their starter. So Minshew's rostered on Mahomes' team, who's out of the playoffs. So I can't even bid on Minshew. It's crazy. It's a crazy league.
It is crazy. It is crazy how, to some people it's crazy how other people choose to spend their time. And, here we are. We're talking about Phillip Rivers.
We are talking about Phillip Rivers.
All right, let's move on to running back. I think, at least check if you're in a real shallow league, if you're not thinking about Phillip Rivers this week or whatever, 18% available, Kenneth Gainwell, Tyron Tracy, or Ramondre Stevenson. So you might find him on your waiver wire. Probably not. So then who? It's Isaiah Pacheco, 37% available. I think is the next most likely to be out there who might be able to help you against the Titans. And then to me, it's tough. So I'm hoping you can help me out here, Dan. So you've got Jawar, we've talked about, he's available in every league. You've got Bill, he's available in 43% of leagues, but we're nervous about the spot against Philly. Tank Bigsby for the Eagles, we saw get a ton of run at the end of a blowout, and that could happen again. They're on the road, but they're playing the Commanders.
Kind of like that.
Just a couple weeks ago, we got can't move the ball at all game from Washington. If we get something like that, if Mariota did some weird stuff, meltdown type turnovers, which we've seen, then yeah, maybe Philly is again in a position where they rest Saquon Barkley and Bigsby gets in. But there's the risk that Bigsby gets 4 touches in this game or something, So do what you will with that. Malik Davis for the Cowboys, available in pretty much every league. Chargers this week, and then Washington next week. So maybe somebody to pick up and see if there's anything that comes out this week about Javante's health.
Yeah.
If we get another weird game, or if Javante aggravates something, who knows? Like maybe next week against Washington, he gets in, or if the Cowboys just melt down and kind of decide to there's no need to play some of these veterans, they're out of the playoff picture against Washington in week 17. And maybe Malik Davis is a decent play and somebody that you're glad to have stashed before the waiver wire run next week. Against the Jets, we've got Audric Estime and Evan Hull. Hull more of the passing down skill set, Estime the early down skill set. If you think that you can predict what will happen in a Saints-Jets Week 16 game, then go with what Vegas has, which is the Saints winning, and maybe that sets up better for Estime.
Estime is a much better talent, too.
Yeah, do with that what you will.
Yeah, it's not worth much. We got to hit Carter because he's the biggest volume guy we got.
Yeah, Carter is definitely interesting. He's, I think, the clear top ad for running backs this week. Pretty much got all the snaps. So we're back to the Arizona Cardinals Michael Carter thing here. A game where it could get like a sloppy shootout kind of thing where it's sloppy stakes going on here and a lot of points are scored, even though the game isn't actually good. Or a game where Arizona just falls behind again, and Carter's out there and is getting some PPR scamming kind of production for you.
Right.
I'm low key a little worried about Carter, and this is probably just a bad take because they've been pretty. They seem to be pretty happy with Carter, and it's because of my obsession with this Corey Kiner guy.
You did like Kiner's tape at college. I understood. Nick was a huge fan. My other podcast was a huge fan of his tape too. Good tape.
I really liked it. And he's a dog and he's the backup for Carter. And so it's if we've already seen this with, you think Kiner is random. Bam Knight's random, y'all. Bam Knight had 2 carries through 2 years before this year. You know what I mean? He came out of nowhere and just took that job. Why? Because he runs harder.
Right.
He runs vertically. I don't know. I think it makes sense. The Carter stuff makes sense. But
it's interesting.
And he'll probably just be the lead back. But Kiner is somebody in deep leagues. If you want to just add him and see what happens, I think he's great. But yeah, Michael Carter is probably your best fill-in flex. To me, Carter looks pretty similar to Isaiah Pacheco overall.
Okay. Wow.
I think Pacheco is more likely to get more touches, but Carter is more likely to get targets. And
I think Carter's also probably more likely to score. As weird as that's it's not likely, but Pacheco's path to scoring seems just so muddied.
Yeah, we'll see. I don't know why you would even play Kareem.
Just because they like him.
Yeah.
I'm with you. I don't know what you would do with the Chiefs. The Chiefs are an uncharted territory. Like you said, this is a rare spot for the Chiefs. Out of the playoffs eliminated. What does Andy Reid do?
Yeah. The last one I want to mention, I don't know if I said Isaiah Davis in this portion, but on the other side of that whole estimate game, Isaiah Davis, I think is somebody to keep an eye on. He could get more work, but he's a low-end starter. Samaje Perine continues to get more work. He had more carries than Chase Brown. And so this is, again, a low-end play, but probably a better flex play than Davis, probably a better flex play than Tank Bigsby and Bill Krosky-Merritt, honestly.
Sure.
Man, even if Rodriguez is out, I think I might rather just know that I don't know. That's probably wrong. It's Perine, who has gotten double-digit carries in back-to-back weeks.
Yeah.
And isn't going to be thrown off by the game script, I don't think, against the Dolphins, or Bill, who like almost definitely could be thrown off by the game script against the Eagles.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
I do know what you're saying.
I guess I'm mostly just scared about Bill, which I hate that that's the take after the fun Bill week.
It just seems horrific game script wise, right? Like game script will be bad. You're not going to be able to run on the Eagles defense. They know all you can want to do is run. It just doesn't feel and doesn't get much involved in the passing game. I'm with you. I wouldn't, even though he did help you get to the semis, I would look to not start Bill this week.
Yeah. That's all I had at running back. Are there any other names that I'm forgetting, you think?
No, we went over the few at the start of the show that we needed to touch on. I don't think we missed anyone at this position.
There's a chance that like Woody Marks doesn't play and Nick Chubb does, but I still think that it would be like a weird split with him and George Jordan.
I'm not playing Chubb almost no matter what. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So players who you could reasonably start in a flex this week, we'll just throw the top guys out, including Pacheco, who's only available in 37% of leagues. We've already talked about him. We don't really know. For me, it's like Michael Carter at the top, and then who's next? Like the Saints guys.
They're probably the Jordan based on the upside.
I would only be doing that if you're like in a league where you feel like you can get something else in there if Jordan doesn't play.
If you don't need,
I think it's
right.
That's what I'm saying. If you are like, my league's competitive,
Yeah.
we're going like this pickup is the one that I need to use to get something for this week. I lost Devontae Adams. I lost, whatever. I just feel like I've been starting Devin Neal or something like that. Like I feel like Jawar Jordan is really risky because I don't know, but it's probably like a less than 30% chance that he's like in the starting gig this week.
Yeah, he's currently been reverted back to the practice squad to start the week, so we don't know for sure if he's going to be on the roster.
Right. So to me, it would be like if you're in that scenario I just laid out where you like really feel like you've got to get somebody who can help you and it's a competitive situation with your league, then I think I would prioritize the Saints guys over Jawar.
Good matchup too. Estime is probably where
so Estime is who you would be picking up even in PPR formats, right?
Yeah, I just think I trust the talent more.
I'm fine with that. And so it would be Michael Carter and then Estime, and I think then Samaje Perine if you really need somebody now. He's been getting double-digit touches against the Dolphins. That's where I would go next. We just saw, pretty good game from the Steelers guys there.
I think for me, where I'd go, if you're in that spot that you're kind of breaking down, which I do like, because some people are going to want the not guaranteed points, but the better floor. We'll say I think it'd be Davis for me actually next over Perine.
Isaiah Davis?
No, Malik
Davis. Why? Sorry.
The Cowboys. I just think he's going to have an opportunity. Like, I don't think it's going to be the role we've seen for Javonte based on the injury. And I just trust that offense a little bit more than I would say trust the two other offenses we brought up, Isaiah Davis's offense or the Bengals offense, honestly, right now.
Okay.
That's a weird take.
Yeah. Well, it's a weird situation, man. Let me look it up again. I'm pretty sure it's like a freaking 28% snap rate or something.
It was, and it was mostly second half. Like, let's be clear, Javonte was hurt, and he came back, and he looked good when he came back, Javonte. But it's like they only kind of used him on early downs, obvious run situations. They might try to lessen that load a little bit.
Yeah, 29% snap rate for Javonte. He ran one route in the game.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. I would be nervous that it's like Javonte's fine next week and Malik Davis gets like 3 touches.
Definitely possible.
That's why I would say Perine, just because you're probably getting 5 points. You might get 12 if you get a touchdown or something.
I guess, yeah. I'm not a Perine guy.
I think if I was going with Malik Davis, I would rather just go with Tank Bigsby.
That's fine. I agree with that. Based on the potential for a blowout, potential for Eagles to use.
I think the volume proposition is probably pretty similar, and he faces a better matchup, and I think he's a better player.
Sure.
That's
okay. I'm in on that.
Okay, so if you need a starter this week, you got one spot. This is like the most conservative scenario here, I guess, in terms of how you're treating the pickup. It's Michael Carter and then Estime, and then I'm going Perine, but for Dan it'd be probably Bigsby next.
Yeah.
Is Evan Hull on this list for you? Is he somebody you would pick up at all, or are you just like, I just don't really see it?
No, I mean, Northwestern guy, he was actually decent on tape, not an explosive player. I probably don't see
Passing
it
down
there.
skill
Like,
set.
for me, like I'd be more likely than Evan Hull to play, even in a bad matchup, to play the kid from Syracuse, LaQuinn Allen, over him, honestly.
Awesome.
Even though it's
Didn't even
Broncos,
mention LaQuinn Allen, but
just because Tootin's done.
Yeah, Tootin
Sadly.
out until maybe the playoffs. So LaQuinn Allen is a player. I like him. He's going to be out there for passing downs.
Right.
He last time we saw Tootin get a little banged up, they gave
Like, at least
LaQuinn
that
Allen some
offense
touches.
produces. Like, I know it's Broncos matchup, but they are good offense. I want something on a good offense. Like I said, an offense I can trust to move the ball.
The chat is so sick. They're saying it's Phil Maffa time.
Oh,
It
yeah. I
It
doubt
sure
it.
be
but
nice to hear something about Phil Maffa. They
Jaden
say. I'm
Blue?
like,
No, I'm
dude,
just kidding.
for real. Me too.
What a disaster, Jaden Blue.
Yeah, the rookie running backs for Dallas. Just haven't heard anything from
How
them.
does a name that cool not be good in fantasy?
Come on, yeah.
Crazy.
On the Cowboys, too. Okay, let's talk about receiver. Let's talk about tight end. We've got some Darren Waller questions. Crazy to start Darren Waller over I assume that's Tyler Warren, but it might be Jalen Warren.
Tyler Warren. And no, it's not crazy.
No,
I'd do it. I'm doing it.
Tyler
If
Warren
that's
stuff
the
is
case,
bad.
I'm doing it. Like, I don't want Tyler Warren starting anywhere this week.
Who's the top wide receiver pickup this week, Dan? You have any takes? I mean, Luther Burden in 67% of leagues.
If available, is not a bad play.
Yeah.
It's pretty nasty.
Anybody else?
I'm taking a look back through. It's pretty nasty if I can remember.
Darius Slayton. We called that one out. It was very close to a big game. 10 targets.
Could go Slayton. Definitely pretty nasty. I don't love it, but the matchup isn't good, and he's still kind of just the number 3. But Shaheed has been doing stuff.
Yeah.
Working his way into the offense, 74 yards. He's up there. Just there's not much available. So he's up there, I would say. Dobbs, you talked about the Dobbs, Jaden Reed situation earlier. That one's obviously top of our mind. Coker.
Coker.
Yeah. Is it
Jalen
time?
Coker,
Is it
90%
time
available.
where Dan Schneider, who got buried and brutalized by the chat, were even merely suggesting that it was possible that Jalen Coker could outscore McMillan rest of season? Is it time to take that victory lap? No, it's not. I still need to get through another couple weeks. And again, it was more of like a 10-1 type play. Just understand odds involved when you make a big, bold call like that. It's not saying, oh, if we simulate this 100 times, Coker's going to outscore him. No, it's saying, I don't really like the involvement in the offense for McMillan. I do like the involvement for the offense in Coker. McMillan is obviously a better player, but Coker's good too. He's proven it on tape once again and again. So, yeah, it's time to consider Coker.
I don't think he got anything to defend, man. Everybody saw it. He continues to play well. The guy's a stud. I was down here in the streets.
Come on.
Down in the streets celebrating after the big Coker game. Like, where are my cokeheads at? Nobody, wrong people, wrong crowd.
Yeah,
responded to that one. I was like, where are the Beyond the Box Score sickos at? Not in Miami, I guess.
Not in Miami, that's for sure.
90% available. Coker, yeah, he's played really well, and it's a huge game for Carolina, and it's a pass funnel defense. It's much easier to attack Tampa Bay through the air. So I think he's a reasonably good play. Like, I would, if I had to start someone this week, I think I'd probably start him over Bourne and Trey Harris, two other pickups that I think are totally valid. Yeah.
Start him over Slayton personally.
Yeah. In deep leagues, I do think both those players I just brought up are relevant. Like, Trey Harris is available in 95% of leagues. Jalen McMillan, maybe the role even grows. I really doubt it. I don't know if there's how they could get him more looks, but if that game does turn into a shootout, he's in deep leagues, somebody who's kind of interesting. The Titans receivers are sort of interesting in deep leagues. It's Alec Iomanner and Chimere DK. We had a question in the chat about DK earlier. Yeah, somebody in my money league benched DeAndre Swift for DK. He would have won the first round. They would have won in the first round.
Wow.
Should he be banned? I don't know if you can ban somebody for making bad lineup decisions.
Yeah, no ban, but it is a very disappointing decision against the Browns defense and great game script. Just couldn't bench those guys.
Yeah. People are loving the haircut and the Dave cameo, the swap that we did on the FFT
awesome.
show. All right. I don't really have much else at wide receiver, I don't think.
It's bad week. Bad week at wide receiver.
Yeah.
Let's be honest.
Okay. you got anything at tight end? It's we brought up the Rams guy. I think Parkinson. Parkinson's probably one of the best ads in theory. He might be a better flex than most of the wide receiver options we just talked about.
Right.
So Kendrick Bourne is a nice play because he's in a good offense. So you could throw him in a deep league if he's your last starter, and he might get you a touchdown. He might get you a long play or something. Parkinson's kind of the same thing. Like, he's not as likely to get you a long play, but he's probably way more likely to get a touchdown. It's just like going after an ancillary piece in a good offense could make sense, obviously, as we saw this past week with Parkinson's fantasy game. I think T. Ferg is really interesting. And then is Darren Waller, he's still pretty available, I feel
he is still somehow available.
Yeah.
Huge part of that red zone offense. I don't feel super confident, especially when they haven't named their starter yet. I'd actually prefer him with Tua. I don't know how it could. I don't even know if they go to Ewers or Wilson.
How about this group? It's Waller. These guys are all 30 to 40% available in CBS leagues. Waller against the Bengals, which has obviously been such a good matchup to attack. Juwan Johnson with Devon Vele getting banged up against the Jets. Colson Loveland, who we hit on earlier, against the Packers. You've got Theo Johnson against the Vikings and Aronde Gadsden against the Cowboys. So you got 5 tight ends there who are the top 2 or 3 to stand out for you.
It would be Waller first, actually.
Yeah.
Just feel the most confident about that. And what do we have? We had Loveland in there, who would probably be up there. Who else? Gadsden.
Juwan Johnson, Gadsden, and Theo Johnson.
The Juwan Johnson thing's interesting just because the matchup's fine, and maybe Vele means more Juwan Johnson. Don't love it, though.
I think that makes sense.
It does make sense. I still think I'd probably play Gadsden over him, just with the upside of Gadsden. The last for me by far would be Theo Johnson. I do not expect big things from the Giants offense against the Vikings. I think we're going to be looking at 125 to 150 total yards of offense.
Yikes. That's crazy, dude.
I feel it in my bones. It's going to be cold. They completely screwed up against this Flores defense last year, week 1. I just don't think they have solutions for it with the talent they have out there.
Okay. How about then Parkinson, who's much more available? He's available in 79% of CBS leagues.
It's your boy.
If one of those players are available, or if 2 of those players are available, are you still going to Parkinson? Who among that list would you prefer to Parkinson against the Seahawks?
I still feel by far and away Waller. I understand the scare, BWC says might not be Tua, and Andrews just did not, and Andrews likely did nothing against Cincinnati. True, but before that, the Bengals get given up the most points to fantasy tight ends, and still are the team that's given up the most points to fantasy tight ends, and it's in Miami. It's a big one for me, so it's still easily Waller for me. Parkinson probably slots in above. I still think I'd probably play Gadsden, or he'd probably still be just above Theo for me. Just don't trust it at all.
Yeah. Okay. I think that you probably can get Parkinson in most leagues, but if you are going deeper, I'm curious if there's anybody that you prefer to T. Ferg, or if you would just go with T. Ferg over the Pittsburgh tight ends, Mike Gesicki, anything like that. I think it's for me, I'm just going with T. Ferg.
Sure.
Let me check in on the usage
over
on
that.
this
If you're stuck in that spot, yes.
Yeah. So I guess if you don't love your tight end option, maybe it's Tyler Warren, Jake Ferguson, if you're with one of those players that have gotten you here in the playoffs, but you're not feeling great about right now, would you prioritize Parkinson over an upside running back or something like that? Does that make you get what I'm saying here?
I do get what
you
you're
could
saying.
Stash somebody who could be really cool and helpful for you in the championship, or you could just bench Warren to get Parkinson, who has more upside with the Rams. You know what I'm saying?
I play for the now, so I would try to maximize the matchup as best
Makes
I can.
sense.
Yeah,
that makes sense.
It's hard to expect much from Tyler Warren right now.
Okay, I feel like we've done a good job here. Let's wrap up with I need a week 15 starter. So this is flex, any position. Let's go Darius Slayton or Parkinson.
Parkinson.
Okay. What
Slightly.
about the running backs? Yeah, you're really low on the Giants. I think I
Very
am
low on
fine
the
with Parkinson. I think I'm fine with Parkinson over Slayton. They are close. Michael Carter over these players?
Yes, for sure, for me.
Okay.
Even with the risk of what you said happening, it's just the upside for him is just like legitimately like 20 touches, which we don't really have anywhere with any of these guys we're about to mention.
Yeah. So how about Estime? I feel like I would take Parkinson and Slayton over him. What do you think?
I would go Estime personally. I know it's risky,
Yeah?
but yeah, the matchup's good. I like his talent.
I would go.
Obviously, this is assuming Neal is injured and doesn't play.
I would go Parkinson over Estime. Because we don't even know if Neal will be out.
Neal
And Alvin
plays.
Kamara, we don't know if he'll be out. I think there's a decent chance we get Estime. But at this point, like the initial run of waivers, this is going to be such a fun like week 16. Like I think how savvy you are in like navigating the waiver wire will truly has a real chance to swing matchups for people here. In the initial run, I would prioritize Parkinson over Estime. I think Parkinson is going to be one of the most popular ads this week.
That's fair.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, I think that does make a lot of sense.
And we don't even know what will happen with Estime. So if you pick up Estime, don't get Parkinson. What if you don't get Slayton too, and then Estime doesn't start? Then you might be left in I've got to start Trey Harris at flex kind of situation,
Right?
Which might not be the end of the world, but okay. How about I think the last thing for me is like Coker. Are you Coker over Slayton?
Yes.
I think I'm fine with that. Yeah, I think they're pretty similar. I like Slayton without a doubt. All right, Coker over Parkinson?
Yes, yeah, for sure.
This is
part of the Parkinson problem for me is like also the matchup isn't great against Seattle.
Well, they've given up points to tight end. I don't
definitely they have actually been. I should take that back. They've been bad against tight ends this season.
Yeah.
Seattle. I just don't necessarily think there's going to be a lot of general offensive production in this game.
Right. The over-under is 44.5, which isn't as bad as I feel like your sentiment is kind of alluded to. But I do get your point. I think that these are two really well-called defenses. The Rams are implied for 23 points, which is not nearly as high as normal.
Right.
But it's not awful.
It's not awful, yeah.
Okay. Coker over Parkinson, I'm all right with that. Where's Carolina's implied for 21.25. So honestly, pretty similar to the Rams this week. I'm fine with that. I'm fine with Coker over Parkinson. I don't know. I was going to say, I think he's maybe safer too. Like it wouldn't surprise me at all if Parkinson gives us a 1 or 2 catch game.
True.
Okay. I think that's like a good top 5 for people. And then you can, in deeper leagues, we've talked about a lot of these players today, and you can make up your own mind on whatever Tank Bigsby or Kendrick Bourne if you're stuck in that type of situation. I think the top 5 here. Yeah, hopefully you're not. Hopefully you're not going after a semifinal win with Tank Bigsby or Kendrick Bourne. But again, if you are, sounds fun. Yeah, hope you enjoy those crazy leagues. Our top 5 here: Michael Carter, Jalen Coker, Colby Parkinson, Audric Estime, Darius Slayton. You good signing off on that?
Yeah, I'm in.
What was the consensus on Tyler Warren versus Parkinson? I feel like we both were kind of leaning towards Parkinson. It's been pretty awful for Warren. He's just not really even part of the game plan.
Right.
Like there's not really any emphasis to get him the ball.
And it's capped Rivers.
Let me double check on his first read target rate this week. Yeah, I really do think that we might see more pass attempts this week, like noticeably more pass attempts.
Okay.
You know what I mean? Like it's another week of him getting comfortable with it. And if they're just like, I don't know, like if they're down by double digits against the Niners, are they just going to keep running? Maybe.
No, I think that would lead to the pass attempts. I just don't think they're going to go down double digits to the Niners. I think it's going to be like a similar game to the Seahawks and a similar game script to that Seahawks game. Of course, the Niners could change that by just being good on offense, which they have been.
Tyler Warren led the team in first 3 targets, 26%. That's not bad. 22% target share overall. What's the result 3 catches for 19 yards. Feels bad. But we know that he can make plays. Also, we know that like he can get the ball in short yardage situations and stuff like that. I don't like that's probably not going to happen, but that there are ways where they can like get the ball and scheme stuff to him. And if they do throw more, I feel like, maybe you turn your 3 for 19 into 6 for 38. And that's 2 points better than Parkinson. I'm sorry. We need to stop talking about this. Let's talk about something more interesting. People want to know what positions would the Fantasy Football Today podcast play if we were football players, and who would be the number 1 pick? What do you think, Dan? Any thoughts off the top? What position would you play?
Well, I grew up. What are we assuming here? This is like a league of small people, so I can play in it. I mean, I'm 5'8", 170. Yeah. This has to be a league of small people. So in a league of small people, I think I'd want to play. I think I could best play safety. I think that's where I can use my skill set to my best of my ability. Some little bit of lateral agility, a little bit of headiness up top. I can read the defense. I can read the quarterback, follow his eyes, understand route concepts.
I can see this. Okay, let's say what we are playing in is a league of fantasy football analysts. You get what I'm saying? Where it's like, yes, probably small people, probably not great athletes, probably people in their 30s, 40s, 50s, or whatever. Okay, so you were talking about real football. I in my head just assumed flag football, but you're saying Dan's out here at safety, and I love this. Did you play much football like growing up? Did you play safety?
Not really. We played with I played with my friends. We had Thanksgiving game, tackle, like stupid stuff like that, but never organized.
In flag football, I was in like college. I was pretty nasty at receiver. Very, very good short area quickness type stuff.
Okay.
Good hands.
I could see that.
Could go get the ball. Like good vertical and stuff. Could go get the ball. But I'm only 5'9", so I think I'd do all right in the analyst league. Also, though, hilariously, we had a 3-game stretch where we had to like try to go like from the beginning of the playoffs to the end. We played them all on the same day for some reason. And then like the championship was going to be the next game. And we had a really good year, but then our quarterback couldn't play. And so the whole team was like panicking, like we're done. And I was like, I'll do it. I'll play quarterback. And I do not play quarterback, do not have an arm or anything, but I just watch a crap load of football, play a crap load of Madden. And so what I would do is like, I can read the defenses and throw with anticipation, even though like I cannot throw far or with very much accuracy. And I also was like, the rule was like, they could wait 5 seconds and then they can rush the quarterback. And I was like, I'm just going to sit back here and wait till one of you guys get open. And if they rush me, then I'm just going to run around them, just juke them, because I usually play receiver and whoever's rushing me is not going to tackle me. And it literally worked. We like stormed all the way to the championship game, playing this like annoying dink and dunk. Like, oh my gosh, it was so much fun.
That's awesome. Love that story. I would say the best that we've got would be Heath Cummings. That would be my guess. Tallest one.
Yeah, Heath
probably
is
has an
freaking
arm.
tall.
Used to be a great golfer when he tried to be. Yeah, I just think he's the best athlete probably. He's not going to like to hear this, but I think the worst player on our team, on the FFT team, would be Adam.
Please, Adam. Yes. Adam did a Dan impression this morning on the show that cracked me up. What were they talking about? It was like who could run faster between you and Adam, and they're like, what do you think Dan would say? And his impression was spot on.
He does a really good Dan impression. He's figured it out. He's locked it in. I have to go to the lab. I got to work on my Azer impression. I got to work on my Gibbs impression. There's a lot of work to do when it comes to impressions, but I do think he'd unfortunately be the worst. He's just so small. Like Adam, I love you, man, but when I first met you, I was a little bit surprised by just how skinny you are. Let's just put it that way. I don't know how that would work in football.
Chat says, Dan, I hear Adam is a better basketball player than you.
No, that I mean, we've never seen each other or played against each other. I'm 1,000% sure I would beat him in one-on-one basketball. I have about 25 pounds of muscle on him. I would literally just play old man basketball, back him down, quick flip the ball up against the backboard. It's over.
Chat does not believe I have a good vertical. 35.5 inches when I was in high school.
Jacob Jacob is an athlete. There aren't many athletes on FFT, but Jacob is an athlete.
All right, we'll get off the fantasy analyst athleticism crap here for a second. From Festerbot, please walk us through the 10 versus 11 tush push while Aaron Rodgers stands back with his hands literally in his pockets. Yeah, he does this. This is what he does this all the time. Like when he's not involved in the play, he sits back there and watches.
Yeah, I don't know
And
why
it's
the Steelers wouldn't just take him off the field. Like everyone knows you're tush pushing anyway.
Yeah. I also don't really understand why it would bother people, because it's like, what's he gonna do?
Right.
Like if there is like
anybody.
Yeah, he's not pushing. If there's a fumble or something, it's going the other way. Like, what's he gonna do?
You don't want him falling on that.
Watch it. He's gonna watch it with his hands in his pockets, as he should.
Good for Aaron.
All right. You got anything else on listener league or mailbag show or anything else you want to give
the
people
listener
before we
league
get out of here?
stuff we'll do in the off season, probably around the time of draftathon. We'll tie it to that. Try to raise some money for St. Jude, to be honest, for BTB. And we might do two. Maybe we'll do a dyno and a fun redraft. I will say this: I want it to be auction, so people, Jacob included, set your calendars, make some time, because I ain't a snake guy. I don't do snake drafts. Okay, I'm a snake draft guy, and I'm not gonna. If I'm gonna put it into another league, I already have 23 leagues, which is an insane number for an insane person that has about 12 has been added since draftathon. If we're gonna add two more, they got to be auction. That's all I'll say. As far as the mailbag show goes, tomorrow we're going to be back. We're doing a mailbag show. It's our first ever, which I'm really excited for. Please leave questions in a variety of ways. I'll send a tweet out in a bit. Jacob will send a tweet out in a bit. You can put your questions there. It doesn't have to be fantasy questions, but it definitely can be. It can be fun questions about some TV, food takes. I've been watching a lot of shows lately. It's cold again. I can't golf, Jacob, so I need to spend my time doing something. And I don't have a life.
Come down here and hang out.
I could come down there and hang out and play golf.
I'll be here for a week.
Go play some golf down there.
I'm going golfing Saturday night.
Are you? I didn't even know you did golf.
Tampa. I've got a buddy I'm going to go visit this weekend in Tampa. And
Night golf's fun. Is that what you're doing? Yeah, night golf's actually a lot of fun. I've only done it in Florida. Do you golf at all?
Just for fun with people.
But
if you're going to ask me about my numbers and stuff, I've got no idea.
Okay, you don't have a handicap. That's obvious. Can you swing it?
Sure, yeah.
Can you get the ball in the air?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Some natural athletes can, so I believe you can. See, this is a good example why Jacob's not lying about his vertical. If you can hit a golf ball in the air without playing any golf, that proves it's a very hard sport. But anyway, mailbag show tomorrow. Ask us about anything. We'll have fun with it. And we'll take live questions from the chat as well. Please leave questions on Spotify and iTunes. We will look there too. Have a great rest of your day, and we'll talk to you soon.